The Bhagwan returned to the Jita Grove monastery. One day, he addressed his disciples.
My disciples, to know, to extinguish, and to free yourselves from greed, you must practice these three gates of liberation. First, the samadhi of emptiness, second, the samadhi of signlessness, and third, the samadhi of desirelessness. Again, you must practice these three samadhis in order to know, extinguish, and free yourselves from anger, ignorance, concealment, conceit, jealousy, stinginess, flattery, deceit, quarreling, excessive pride, and neglect.
At one time, a certain Brahmin approached the Bhagwan with a question. O Gautama, you say that your teaching has its effects in this present life, but how can you say that it has direct results in this present life? Again, are there persons who can know if your teachings led persons to nirvana?
O Brahmin, a mind that is burnt, destroyed, and bound by thoughts of greed, anger, and ignorance brings harm to one who has these thoughts and brings thoughts that wish to harm others. In one's own mind one knows suffering and worries. If one frees himself from greed, anger, and ignorance, one does not think of harming himself and does not know suffering or worries. O Brahmin, this teaching is a teaching that has its effects in this present life. Again, everyone knows that this teaching leads one to nirvana.
Again, one day, there was a disciple named Aritha, who formerly hunted eagles and who held an evil view.
The Bhagwan says that some acts are a hindrance to the practice of the path, but when you practice those things you find that they are not much of a hindrance.
Many of the disciples attempted to have him forsake this evil view, but no matter how much they tried to change his view by discussions and arguments, it was all in vain. The Bhagwan heard about this and called Aritha to him, and after reproaching him, he instructed his disciples.
O disciples, if a snake hunter finds a large snake and grasps it by the body or the tail, then the snake will turn his body around and bite the hands, wrists, or other parts of the man's body. Because of this, he will either die or suffer a death-like agony. Why is this? It is because the manner in which he holds the snake is wrong. In the same way, foolish persons, learning the teachings of the Buddha, do not understand their meanings and therefore are not able to discern the truth. They study the teachings so that they can quote authoritative passages when they argue with others. These persons do not understand the meanings, although they study the teachings. They misunderstand the teachings and receive lasting suffering. This is because they misunderstand my teachings. O disciples, there are some children from good families, they learn these teachings and inquire into their meanings, they rightly understand the teachings and receive happiness for a long time. Why? Because they correctly understand the teachings. They act like a snake hunter who takes a wooden fork and pins a snake to the ground by putting it on the snake's neck, and then grabs its neck. No matter how many times the snake may encircle its body around the hands, wrists, or any other part of his body, this person will not die or experience death-like pain. Why? Because he has gotten firm control over the snake.
The Bhagwan shared a parable with his disciples to illustrate the nature of attachment.
O disciples, so that you can get away from attachment, I shall tell you the parable of the raft. Here is a man who is making a long journey. When he sees a large ocean in front of him, he thinks thus, the shore on this side of the ocean seems dangerous, but the shore on the other side is safe. However, there is no boat, and there is no bridge. I shall get to the other shore by gathering straw, logs, and leaves together and building a raft. Soon he completes the raft and is able to reach the other shore safely. As he gets safely on the bank, he thinks thus, this raft proved to be of great value to me. I was able to reach this shore safely because of this raft. I shall carry this raft on my head and shoulders and take it wherever I may want to go.
The disciples responded to the Bhagwan's query.
No, Bhagwan, he is not.
O disciples, then what do you think the man should do with the raft? O disciples, this person, after reaching his destination, should either leave the raft on the beach of the other shore, or he should put the raft in the ocean and go wherever he wishes to go. O disciples, through this parable of the raft I am telling you that you should not become attached to the teachings. Even the teachings must be cast aside, as seen in this parable of the raft. How much more so in the case of false teachings?
The Bhagwan imparted a teaching about the sources of attachment and identity.
O disciples, there are four things from which evil views of I and mine arise. They are the body, the mind, perceptions like seeing and hearing, and the viewpoint of the mind. O disciples, one who does not study and practice, who does not associate with good people, and who is ignorant of the teachings of the sages and good people, such a person, regarding the four things, acknowledges and becomes attached to these things, thinking, these belong to me, this is I, this is myself. However, one who studies extensively, associates with good people, and is trained in the teachings of the sages and good people does not acknowledge and does not become attached to these four things. Thus even when those things cease to exist, he does not lose his right thoughts and is not threatened by fear.
At that time, a certain disciple addressed the Bhagwan with a question.
O Bhagwan, can one lose his right thoughts and be threatened with fear because of outside influences?
Here is a person who thinks thus, before, these belonged to me, but now they are no longer mine. Can I make these mine once more? Probably it will be impossible to make them mine a second time. This person is saddened and cries, beating his chest in anguish. This is a case where a person, because of outside influences, loses his right thoughts and is threatened by fear. Again, even though thinking thus, if he is not saddened, knows no anguish, and does not cry, beating his chest in anguish, such a person does not lose his right thoughts and is not threatened by fear because of outside influences.
O Bhagwan, is it possible that a person can lose his right thoughts and become threatened by fear because of inside influences?
Here is a person who thinks that this world and his self exist forever without change. When he hears the teaching of the Buddha regarding no self, he becomes saddened, cries, and beats his chest in anguish as he thinks, if I follow this teaching, what I call myself will be extinguished and will no longer exist. This is a case where a person loses his right thoughts and is threatened by fear because of inside influences. If, hearing the Buddha's teaching of no self, a person does not become grieved or upset that he will be extinguished and will not exist, this is a case where a person does not lose his right thoughts and is not threatened with fear because of inside influences. O disciples, have you ever possessed something that has continued to exist without any change whatsoever? Or have you ever seen anything that is permanent and unchanging?
No, O Bhagwan, we have never seen such a thing.
O disciples, well said. I, too, have never seen such a thing. In this world, there is nothing that exists permanently and eternally. If one becomes attached to the self, anxieties, troubles, and sufferings will arise. Disciples, if there is I, there arises mine, if there is mine, there arises I, however, because nowhere can we discover the existence of I or mine, the idea that this world and I exist and do not change for all eternity is most foolish. O disciples, is the body permanent or impermanent?
It is impermanent.
Is something impermanent suffering or happiness?
It is suffering.
Regarding a thing that is impermanent, changing, and suffering, is it correct to say that it belongs to me or that it is I or myself?
No, O Bhagwan, it is not correct.
O disciples, this does not apply to the body only, it applies to the mind as well. Therefore, we must know that, no matter what kind of body it may be, this body does not belong to me, it is not I, it is not myself. This applies also to the mind in the same manner.
The Bhagwan described the wisdom attained through this understanding.
O disciples, these disciples see and hear of this teaching in this manner, they are repulsed by the body and the mind, get away from greed, and attain emancipation. Then wisdom that says, I have attained emancipation, arises, and they come to know that birth has ceased, that pure actions have been fulfilled, and that all things that needed to be achieved have been achieved, and for such a one there is no birth after the end of this life. Such a person is called a sage who has gotten away from all impediments and bondages and laid down his heavy burdens.
The Bhagwan addressed misunderstandings about his teachings.
O disciples, some monks have criticized me without any basis, saying, Gautama teaches the destruction and the extinction of people. O disciples, I do not say that. I have, in the past and at the present time, taught of the suffering of the present and of the extinction of suffering. Even though they may criticize, revile, and slander the Bhagwan does not become disturbed and does not become angry. Again, even though people may praise and revere the Bhagwan, and make offerings to him, the Bhagwan does not rejoice and does not experience pleasure or become proud. Again, when a person reveres and respects the Bhagwan and makes offerings to him, the Bhagwan thinks thus, the fact of their doing this for my sake, I knew about it from before. Thus even though someone should criticize, revile, and slander you, you should not become disturbed or become angry. Again, you should not rejoice when another person praises you nor become proud and arrogant. You must think that you knew of this before in your past. O disciples, therefore, throw away all things that do not belong to you. If you throw them away, it will bring you many kalpas of happiness. What are the things that do not belong to you? Your body is something that does not belong to you, throw it away. Your mind also does not belong to you, throw your mind away. If you throw them away, you will receive benefits and contentment for many kalpas.
The Bhagwan used an analogy to reinforce his teaching.
O disciples, what do you think about the following? Suppose a person comes to this Jita grove, brings together grass, twigs, and leaves, and sets fire to them. At this time, would you think that this person had brought things that were yours and was burning them?
No, O Bhagwan, we should not think in such a manner. The reason is that those things would not belong to us.
O disciples, in this same manner, throw away all things that do not belong to you. If you throw them away, you will attain happiness for many kalpas.